What's up, everybody? I just watched a video by Barking Madly about free will and personal responsibility. In that video, he talked about a person who was just on trial for he committed a murder, and his sentencing was affected by what the psychologist said was a predisposition to violence. That's interesting. That's an interesting thing. You know, I have a predisposition to violence, and it's funny the things that that people don't do, isn't it? You're driving along, waiting for a parking spot, and person's walking along, and you want that parking spot, but they're walking along. You just want thump thump. Is that a predisposition? Oh, I kid. I kid. Shouldn't kid about such a serious subject. So there's something's wrong with the dude's brain that made him do the murder. So therefore, he shouldn't be punished as badly as a person who has a perfectly normal brain who does murder, right? That's it's interesting. What I find is interesting is Barking Madly's conclusion on that. If you want to check out his vid, it's good, great vid, good guy, solid solid contributor to the circle. Uh, I'm not surprised by this shit at all, bro. I'll tell you why. Freedom is directly linked to responsibility. What's the thing about freedom? If you're free man, and you have your little plot of land, this little mystical plot of land that we like to theoretically talk about, and everything that happens on that land is your only sustenance. You have to plant the food, you have to raise the livestock, everything. There's no way to get food outside from your plot of land. You are 100% a free man in your own domain. Well, guess what happens? You don't do your job good. You're free to starve. You're free to die. You're free to die if your livestock gets sick. You're free to die if there's no rain that season. Anytime a bailout happens where a person is not free to fail and they're not responsible for the actions that they've committed, you take away a slice of freedom. It's a logical balance. Hosh Nazi recently made a video about the perception of altruism around this Kony 2012 thing, and I talked about the perception of altruism in my homosexuals in the military video. Everybody wants to play it off like to be altruistic would trump everything. You know, if everybody wants to do the right thing for their man, then certain things shouldn't matter. You know, you can overcome that. We want to feed those people, so we're going to feed them. Well, how are you going to feed them, man? Are you going to take food away from someone else? Yeah, we'll just do that. They can afford it. They can afford 30%. Okay, that's great. They can. Maybe they can. Maybe they can afford that 30%. What happens when there's even more people to feed? You going to feed those people? Now you're taking away 60%. Now the people getting food are getting the exact same amount as the man who's doing all the stuff. And maybe it goes even further. The man who makes the food gets less of his food, and the food that's going out to others get more. Let's take it even further. There's even more people we need to feed. The man's only making so much food now. We're at the limit. The man gets to keep none of his food. He makes the food. He's got to give it away. Well, no, there's more people to feed. Well, there's no more food, bro. No, there's more people to feed. There's no more food, bro. No, you don't understand. We just passed a law. We're going to feed these people. There's nothing there to feed them with. No, you don't understand. I just passed a law. Everybody agrees we need to feed those people. There's no food. The word is morality, and I think many believe that morality just has to do with being straight laced and button up and church on Sunday, white picket fence, whole 9 yards. The Republican moral party. Morality has nothing to do with that. Morality is a balance. It's a balance of right and wrong. And what's right and wrong? Right is a positive impact, and wrong is a negative impact. If you take something from someone, it needs to be given back, and then some, to make up for the time that they didn't have what you took from them. Basics. Kindergarten stuff. So I see what's talked about in that court case as being just a clear example of something that I've noticed for a while. Now the other subject that had been discussed was Amy Winehouse. Is there some sort of technology that you could put into a drug addict's mind to make them to take away their predisposition towards seeking narcotics? Oh, you were nice and not swearing and everything, which is wild. You only seem to swear in your car. I can swear in my kitchen. That whole thing about putting a chip in Amy Winehouse's brain to make her not do dope is the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, I've seen that movie. The only thing that comes of putting a chip in a person's mind is you make them some sort of a fucking superpower zombie that goes around murdering people. How are you going to predisposition a junkie not to want to do the junk? It has nothing to do with the dope. Anybody who's around those people knows that stuff. It doesn't have to do with the dope. It has to do with depravity. It's ridiculous. And that's something that can't be imparted. Too many people looking over other fences. That's the deal. Everybody's looking at what's going on with the next guy over, right? And then when they see something going on with the next guy over and they don't like it, they make a stupid little montage and they put it on Facebook with a bunch of tear-jerking music, and they show a bunch of imagery of bodies piled up and an Indian with a tear coming down his eye, to convince a bunch of other people that don't even know these people of what should be done. And as public sentiment is swayed, you get these political robots that pass these bills that cushion us from the consequences of action. Is society circling the drain? When an otherwise smart man becomes convinced that the sky is in fact falling, it's not a good sign. We use Hibernia's son as an example. He's a very intelligent man, and I think he could be capable of a very, very, very incredible public action. He could convince people. He could make a logical case to combat such stupid actions. But we're getting to the point where men such as him will be content to go to the hills, put up their little plot of land, and be like, you know what? There's no hope for you people. You don't make sense. The world, the world that you're passing into legislation is becoming one of madness. Now, we'll go a little further. Barking Madly, you had a video. Ooh, it was one, maybe the one right before this one that I'm talking about here, where you talk about shall not be infringed, has the plot of land, and his neighbor across the thing builds a 20-story building, and the argument is for some sort of an environmental protection to make sure that people who construct such things don't permanently damage shared locations, like a lake that's shared by two different companies. If one company pollutes it, it can harm the other company. It's a nice thought, isn't it? It's a nice thought to think, well, before these large environmental catastrophes occur, what if we just make this watchdog agency that can monitor such things and prevent them before they even happen? And it's the I want to say, isn't it the core principles of the Environmental Protection Agency? But what are they used for? And what's the results? The results in the long run, you still get something happening just like the BP pipeline in the Gulf of Mexico. The EPA didn't stop that. You have large corporations to where they're fined $30,000 a day for their pollution, but they make $1 million a day, so $30,000 a day is just cost of doing business for them. Here's what I say with that lake that you talked about, and this comes down to freedom and personal responsibility. Mike's neighbor turns the whole property into a wasteland, and Mike can't make crawfish, and his neighbor can't do whatever. I think they're just going to have to come up with something different. Because anytime a man can lord something over another man and bring in these experts, it can be abused. The same chains that hold back a dangerous animal are the chains of enslavement. This thing that we're talking about here, this isn't just on a national level. This is happening globally, people. It is happening globally. This idea of this country's in want. This country has plenty. This country in want. Look at these people. Look at the poor, starving people in this country of want. And then they have the sad music, and they sway public sentiment, and then they show this evil, demonic country of privilege. And then they show them in a different light, show them as spoiled and abusive. The United Nations Agenda 21, which has been signed into effect. Go and look. I'm going to have a link down below. This is no shit. This is no shit that the people representing us think that this crap is cool. To take from one and give it to someone else. There's nothing wrong with giving to people in need. There's something wrong with taking. That's the problem. And when you make a person give, you can't just call it, well, I'm making them give or I'm taxing them. It's taking. Is taxing some sort of a necessary evil? Well, shit, I don't know. Apparently, it's not enough for the way that these assholes act anyway. You racking up $1 trillion worth of debt. Apparently, taxing ain't the answer, bro. Most everything's been done on goodwill anyway. And we see this on a national level. Well, guess what? It's happening globally. So you got the Kony 2012 shit. It's a perfect example. Uganda? Uganda? Fuck Uganda. Yeah, we did such great work in Somalia, didn't we? Mogadishu. The Delta Force and the Army Rangers got bogged down in Mogadishu. That place is nasty. It's the armpit of the world. You're going to obligate us to that shit? Dude, when the barn's on fire, you don't worry about the neighbor's apple pie left out on the thing getting picked by crows. All I ask is that you look at these things and you think about them and reach your logical conclusion. Because there's going to come a time real soon when the people that are made to give won't have any anymore. I mean, they show all these billionaires and millionaires and they say, oh, yeah, well, they got plenty. Dude, $1 billion inheritance can be squandered by the irresponsible. All I ask is that we think.